Hi, guys. Welcome to yet another episode of Korat Point podcast. Today, for a change, both of us, that is me, Dev Tyagi, and Pranay Dangra, are not going to be bugging you alone. Doesn't mean that our guest is going to fill up for us. But we are joined today by a very interesting personality who is a revered cricket analyst. So, Wajid Mustafi, welcome to Korat Point. It's a very special episode because it's the first time that we actually have a guest. So it means that we are doing something right, that people are really wanting to listen to our gibberish in the name of cricket. But on a more serious note, Suvajit has been writing for a number of revered publications, some of which include Times of India, Sportskeeda, The Bridge Chronicle, and so on and so forth. He loves to follow the game, which we are all so passionate about. He keenly follows Indian cricket, which right now is the most important topic because we are just hours away from the start of the World Test Championship final. So, Suvajit, welcome to Korat Point. Pranay and me are going to be discussing with you today about India's chances in this one of a kind test challenge, which they would love to ace. And facing New Zealand is perhaps always exciting because there are no more athletes from my perspective in the skin of being the dark horses. They've really come out of that lair. So my first question to you would be that how difficult or easy is this side that India is going to square up against?
Uh, Hi Dev, hi Pranay. Thanks for having me on the show. And
Pleasure, pleasure.
to answer your question, I think it's going to be very difficult for India. And
Mm-hmm.
the way I see it, New Zealand probably they have the slight edge. And again, I mean, there are a number of factors, and one of them is also the psychological factor. Uh, you know, uh, India has never beaten New Zealand in a ICC tournament match since 2003 Super Six game that was played in South Africa. So it's been that long, and I mean, no side in the recent past has troubled India as much as New Zealand. So, and again, I mean, these guys played a two-test series in uh, England, and they had they had fair amount of match practice, and again, when we talk about the conditions, New Zealand back home they play on, more greener surfaces where the ball is moving around a lot, and though this will be a Duke ball, but yeah, I believe that New Zealand have the edge with the team they have. But again, yeah, like India has been the best cricketing side across formats over the past 7 or 8 years. So it'll be a exciting contest.
Absolutely. And I think, the evidence of New Zealand being such powerhouses of sorts in the international game is evidenced by the fact that they are consistently amongst the top three across formats, if I have that correct. They've been doing some remarkable stuff in ODI as well. But a side which has names like Pujara, uh, Kohli, and Jasprit Bumrah. You don't think they're going to make life a bit difficult for New Zealanders, never, howsoever calm or cool they might be?
They are definitely going to be, making life difficult for the Kiwis. But uh, again, when we look at numbers uh, and see, how the Indian teams. How the Indian teams in the recent past have performed in conditions where the ball has moved around a bit. So, and apart from Virat Kohli, I think none of the batters average more than 35, and the kind of form that Kohli has been of late, I mean, that's a slight area of concern. uh, and of course, I mean, like you mentioned, the bowlers like Bumrah, Shami, and the others, I mean, bowling has been India's key strength in the past 2 or 3 years, and the kind of pace attack that we have, the kind of spin attack that we have now that we have Ashwin and Jadeja both. So yeah, I think bowling will play a vital role, and the batsmen will just have to back up the bowlers. We never thought that we would be saying something of this sort for Indian cricket, but that's how it has been in the recent past. Yeah.
Right.
Shivaji, one question. So, if you would have seen the old Australian finals, they used to typically be a three contest series, the the Benson and Hedges Cup, and then the Carlton United series. Do you think this World Test Championship, considering that you have the two best teams in Test cricket fighting it out, should be more than at least one Test? Should at least be a series of three?
I think so, definitely, yes, because like we know, again, we keep on complaining, like New Zealand again did they deserve to be the finalist in the World Test Championship is a much debated topic because they have played apart from playing at home, they have also played two Test series. I mean, a two Test match series and a five Test match series carrying same points. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And now when we're talking about a World Test Championship, uh, definitely yes, I think it should be at least a three match Test series. And uh, also, I mean, uh, that is again one of the weaknesses, I would say, that India have had in the recent past. In the I think in the last six Test series that they have played away from home, they have lost in four of the first tests. So they usually take some time to get used to the conditions, and it even happened to them when after a 2 month long tour in Australia, when they came back home, and England was slightly better prepared with the Sri Lanka series, and India ended up losing the first test. So they don't perform really well in the first test. So I think, to be fair to all the sides, and since we play a lot of we do not play a lot of first class games these days before start of a tour. So I think, yeah, it should be a three Test series at least.
So, Shivaji, how much do you think would confidence play a role, considering New Zealand has just beaten England in the two Test series, the last Test, and India really hasn't played any cricket against any country, so to speak, in England. They've just been playing some practice games. So, do you think that'll impact India as they get into the first Test?
Definitely, yes. I mean, so New Zealand will, carry a lot of confidence when they enter this particular match. Now they are also the number one Test side, not to forget, and um, so they will be pretty high on confidence. But uh, you know, ever since that Australia series earlier this year, things have slightly changed. I mean, no team will take this Indian side lightly, and they know that what these individual players are capable of, and that is somewhere I think India have the edge, because they have been a team that have actually fought. They have fought it out, and the road to the WTC final for them hasn't been easy. So I think these boys will be out to prove something. Yeah.
Right. Which particular players in the New Zealand lineup do you think India would be most wary of, and why do you think that is?
I think I'll start with the bowlers, because I think the New Zealand bowlers have actually troubled this batting lineup. Last year when India toured New Zealand, I
2-0
mean,
drubbing.
yeah, and those matches were like completely one-sided affairs, and the way Jamieson, started his Test career, then we have seen in the past how Trent Bolt and Tim Southee, they have consistently troubled the Indian batters. Neil Wagner is a super bowler. Then I mean, they also have a lot of selection dilemma, like whether to pick Matt Henry or not, because he was the man of the match in the second Test against England. So, and Matt Henry in the past has also troubled India. So yeah, I mean, I think, and considering the fact that the Indian batters are not very comfortable against the moving ball. So I think, yeah, definitely Trent Bolt and Tim Southee are the two New Zealand players India will watch out for. When we talk about batting, definitely I would say Conway, with the way he started his Test career, and
Dream
he's
debut, really.
yeah, a dream debut, and he's scoring runs across formats. He will be high on confidence. There are two more players. I mean, Tom Latham, definitely, because again he's a wonderful player of spin bowling, and if he manages to get through the first couple of overs. Kane Williamson, of course, I mean he's always in your list, and uh, Ross Taylor, I mean he's at the end of his career, and I mean somehow in the last couple of years, if you see, Ross Taylor has been superb across, I mean, both in ODIs as well as Test, but he has not been really talked about.
Yeah.
He's been very underrated, and uh, so there will be things that he would want to prove, and probably these are the final few days of his career, and he would like to leave the team on a high. And then my dark horse would also be somebody like a PJ Watling playing his last Test match.
Well, yeah, that's going to be that's like a really momentous occasion for soon to be 36-year-old. If I have that correct.
Who I think is another South African that he lost to the World Cricket.
True, South African, again an opener, then again he became a wicket keeper. So a very interesting story for BJ Watling. Yeah.
And now the West Indians are also following the South African way, because after losing Jofra Archer, this morning there was an article on ESPN Cricinfo by none other than the great George Dobell. And they said that a 17-year-old Barbadian pacer, who's supposed to be the next big thing, the next Jofra Archer, has already been signed up by Warwickshire. So don't worry, Pranay, like South Africa, West Indies are also following suit, although not in victories, as we recently saw. So, yeah.
I think we both have a very giving nature with our team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We also always give in to India regularly, I've seen. But nevertheless, coming back to this series, yeah, you asking?
So, Subhajit, what do you think about this new guy, Devon Conway? He's been so good in the T20 series and the one-day series, and now he's scored a double century on debut. So, how do you think he's going to counter the likes of Bumrah, Shami, Ishant Sharma? Is he going to be that one good opener that New Zealand have always been looking for to complement Latham?
Yeah, so I mean, the way he has started his Test career, I mean, there was no doubt about his ability against the white ball that we already have seen. One good thing about Conway is he's a batsman who looks to score runs. I mean, he's not just out there to hang around. Latham, he usually plays the waiting game in the longer format, and that is that is a I think that is somewhere Conway stands out. He's an aggressive batsman, and I think once you start scoring runs against the bowlers, you put them under a lot of pressure, and the bowlers keep on experimenting a lot, and that is where I think he will be very handy, and the next 5-6 years for New Zealand cricket, in terms of opening, is in a very safe zone, I would say.
Do you think that
Sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
Imagine if he was playing for South Africa, where would we be? I mean, I'm a diehard South African fan.
Yeah, who incidentally happens to reside in India. Actually, Cyril Ramaphosa, when he last sent the shipment of vaccines, there was one empty box for him, but he could not be shipped back because they said he's needed more in India for podcasting and writing reasons.
I'm a virus there, bro. I'm not a vaccine.
Good one. Right.
I mean, with South Africa, you never know. I mean, South Africa could have been a completely different side. Probably Conway would have been batting in the middle order with so many. He's anyway a middle order batsman who's a makeshift opener, and with no AB, no Faf. I mean, he would have been a big star in South African cricket. But then that's the way that has been. We've seen it from KP to so many cricketers in South Africa lost to England and now to New Zealand. I mean, New Zealand is now turning out to be another good place for all these South African cricketers. I think even Grant Elliott, Wagner, BJ Watling.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that there are any chinks in India's batting armory when it comes to facing this big clash against New Zealand? Anything particularly concerning, let's say, in the batting department? Are they very comfortable against the shorter ball? Do you think that's an area which the likes of Wagner and company could really exploit?
I don't really think that the short ball will be though. I mean, he troubled Rahane. I remember in one of I think the second Test match. I mean, it was it was pretty ugly to actually watch. But I don't think the short ball in the recent times has posed a lot of threat to the Indian batsman. It's more about the movement, and even in the two tests that I watched between England and New Zealand, I saw Wagner was also looking to pitch the ball up and swing it in. So that is an area I think because if you see the Indian top order batting, there are a lot of right-handed batsmen. I mean, I think till Rishabh Pant, I mean, the top five are all right-handed batsmen, and that is one angle which is going to trouble. We have seen Rohit Sharma struggle against that, even in one-day cricket in the past. And they have Trent Bolt, they have Wagner, and that is somewhere they will be targeting. Yeah.
Right.
So Subhajit, if you see Kane Williamson, he's a captain who's very calm. He always looks unperturbed. He never has any expression of anxiety on his face. Versus when you see Kohli, he's a guy who's emotional. He wears his heart on his sleeve. And he's that sort of a captain. He's always in the mix, in the game, fiery, up there. So what kind
Basically,
of a
you mean a Bollywood actor?
Yeah, pretty much. He's like Akshay Kumar in emotions, not in action. Sorry. So, but my question is that, so what kind of a quality would you think would prevail in this all-important World Test Championship? Would it be calmness is a better thing, or wearing your heart on your sleeve and being all emotional is a better thing?
See, I think both these captains have different styles, and they both have been successful in their own ways. I think if you look at the stats, both of them are. I mean, they have, I think, 160% of their games, and Kohli is on his way becoming. I think if he wins another test, he will even go past Clive Lloyd. So both the methods have been successful for both of them, and I think at this point of time, I believe that they will stick to their respective styles, and because that is their strength. And if I have to pick one, personally, I would go more with the Williamson method, because I think it's in a one test match. It's just a one-off test, right? So sometimes the emotions can get the better of you. So that's where I think Williamson will have a slight edge. But then, yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely comfortable with Kohli sticking to his strength, because that has worked for him.
Right.
Do we have crowds for this test?
I think only those who are watching from their home comfort, most probably. I doubt that.
I think we have spectators allowed, right? At the AG Sport.
I think
Maybe
so.
Maybe to a particular capacity. Who knows?
So obviously, it goes without saying that the Indians in the stands will be in domination as compared to Kiwi supporters. So would you think that will work
Because
out?
they haven't really mastered the art of overpopulating. So that could also be one of the reasons.
So getting back to
Yeah.
more serious business. So, Subhajit, do you think having more Indians in the stands as supporters versus the Kiwis, will that play a big motivational role for India?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, yeah. For someone like Kohli, it definitely works because he's always. I mean,
He gets
if there
pepped up
is
by the crowd.
so if there are Indian supporters, he will be there, and he will be further pepping them up, and that sort of works for him, and yeah, it will be good to watch as well as
Yeah.
viewers home. Yeah.
So, Subhajit, how much do you think New Zealand would want to avenge the 2019 World Cup final defeat by conquering India in this World Test Championship final?
I don't think New Zealand play cricket that way. They don't look to avenge. I think it's more about the Indian fans who want to avenge the 2019 semi-final defeat, and they
Oh,
if
yeah.
you
Yeah.
if you go to the social media, it's still filled with the memes of MS Dhoni getting run out, and I mean, I still remember that there were like a lot of foolish memes that how karma caught on Martin Guptill in the final.
Yeah.
Uh,
First he ran him out and then he got run out. That was,
he
wow,
got
that
run
was
out,
incredible.
and then in an attempt to run out Ben Stokes, that overthrow for. So I mean, but then yeah, I don't think New Zealand, the way they presented themselves after the final match, it is like
He is
they're
personified.
yeah, they're completely okay, fine. The rules were in place before, so
Yeah.
I mean, more than New Zealand, I think the rest of the world were more the. Of course, the New Zealand team were definitely upset, but then they didn't show it, and I don't think they will be looking to avenge anything. And while we say that they were robbed of the trophy, they're not lucky in that World Cup final. If you see the World Test Championship, actually the luck favored them. The way, I mean, they drew a series in Sri Lanka, then they lost a Test series in Australia, and then the pandemic, and then all they had to do were win those home tests, whereas a team like Australia, if you see, I mean, they were simply unlucky that Ben Stokes knock, that Tim Payne reviewing that decision, I mean, then missing the run out. Then there was no South Africa tour. I know you're a South Africa fan, but I mean, to be
That was
very
the most
honest,
unfortunate part. Yeah. I think Tim Payne has caused a lot of pain.
but to be honest, if Australia toured South Africa, I think Australia had a good chance to defeat them. Even against India, I think in one of the tests, they lost 2 points for their over rate. So, I mean, it was just a matter of 2 points, or else Australia would have qualified. So I think New Zealand have been lucky on that front, so they will be thanking their stars. Yeah.
You know, Dave, Subhajit has set a very good example for us to show how Avengers, the franchisee, does so well in India. But we always want to avenge losses. So no wonder
Absolutely.
that their tickets are always picking up.
Absolutely. And I just had one last question from my end. Pujara, in the last Test series to Australia, definitely played a very vital half century. He took all the body blows from the likes of Cummins and Hazelwood and company, but he wasn't really seen at his most fluent best. So possibly time for him to step up the ante and play that very vital number three's role, which he so beautifully usually does.
Yes, I think so, and I think the best part for him is the last time India played a test in Southampton, he scored that beautiful 132 not out, and so he would like to take cue from that and carry on, because I know, see, as much as we all love watching Pujara defend, block. But at the end of the day, it's also about scoring runs, and uh, that is what matters in the end. And when you are playing, five specialist batsmen and then Rishabh Pant and uh, Jadeja, as you'll be expecting Jadeja to play as a full-time batter. So that is when I think that your other batsmen will have to really really step up, and that is what I believe is a concern for India, because when you look at the batting lineup, Rohit Sharma, I think he's playing a test in England after 7 years, and he's never opened there. Shubman Gill has never played a test, even in the India A tour of England in 2018. Prithvi Shaw was the one who was scoring all the runs, and Shubman Gill did not play any of the unofficial tests. And
Right.
especially in England, we see that it's a specialist job, and
Right.
then that's why Pujara and Kohli are very important.
Right. 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 All right. So, time for predictions, the final segment of the chat, where we are going to predict who's going to score the most runs, take the most wickets, and of course, the eventual winner of the test match. So, why don't we start with you, Pranay?
I would go with Devin Conway as the most runs, Kyle Jamieson as the most wickets, and New Zealand coming on top.
Okay. So, that's a really ardent Indian supporter there with his views. Nice to hear. So, Ajit, what about you?
Um, I'll say that probably this will be Virat Kohli's test. Maybe he will be proving people wrong here that yes, I can perform in a crunch game in an ICC tournament. So probably Kohli will be the top scorer, and uh, I think Saudi will be the highest wicket taker in the match. And being a die-hard New Zealand supporter as well as Indian supporter, what I root for is a draw.
Right.
But
Right.
isn't it that if the 5 days do result in a draw, you're getting an additional day?
Uh,
Or is that a rain clause? I'm not sure, but there's a 6 day.
I think it's a rain clause, I believe. I'm not sure, but
I'm glad it's not a super over for a test match. You know, New Zealand would not want to face something like that. All right. My end, I think the most wickets in the game would go to Neil Wagner. For some reason, I feel he's just going to shine bright this time. Maximum runs could be a tie between Williamson and Pujara, and eventual winner, Team India. So that's my prediction. And with that, we've come to the end of the show. And it was fantastic to have you with us, Surajit. And hopefully, we are going to hear more from you soon. And to all our listeners and viewers, and there aren't really 500,000 of those as of now. We would be back soon with a new episode, and we're going to be talking lots and lots about cricket, the game we so love. So, thank you, Surajit. Thank you, Pranay, my co-host.
Thank you so much.
Signing off, and we'll be back soon, guys.
Guys, please like, share, subscribe.